Good morning. And I'm so excited. Welcome to the very first live streamed episode of my little show that I like to call Who Am I? Who am I? And what is this show all about? Well, it asks the questions Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Where are we going? Who are we? What's the nature of reality? Where is actual, physically manifested reality coming from? How do you navigate your life, your mission, your trajectory, your starship through this amazing universe that we find ourselves in? All of those questions I'm going to draw from history, masters, my own wisdom, quotations from my favorite quotations that relate to I don't know if I can even look at this chat window over here. So they just gave me a message, and I'm brand new to live streaming. So I'm going to cover that up for a minute. So I'm not distracted. I need to just give you an idea of what the show is. I draw from, like I said, history, masters, my own intuition. I'm channeling the wisdom of my own inner being, if you will, or attempting to. And so sometimes you'll see me more elevated than others. It depends on how good of a job I'm doing at channeling my own inner wisdom, because we all have it. The question of the day is, who am I? And the objective is to try to get us to a better place here on planet Earth, to elevate our consciousness to the level of where we more fully understand what we're really looking at, and how the lens through which we are looking at it makes all the difference in what it appears to you as. So your own personal state of being is like of primary importance and all that sort of thing. But we talk about more than that, because ultimately the objective is to more fully understand our full reality, the physics of it, the mathematics of it, the how to join together in a more perfect union, how to understand this biofield around us, this divine matrix, if you will, the quantum field, the mathematics of the new unified understanding of the physical realities of the world, and how that is going to affect our systems as we put our lives together and our businesses together and our governments together and our world together. How to understand it better. Sounds very grand. It isn't really. We're coming at it from a layman's perspective. I'm a citizen of planet Earth, and I need to generally understand these things. Generally, who am I? How does my own biotechnology work? How do I work my own body systems, to achieve maximum effect? What's the object of the exercise in life itself? How about that one? There's a good one to question, to think about. We're thinking about these things in really fundamental ways. We're not actually going to be telling anybody how to think or what to do or anything like that. It's more a question of understanding your own equipment so that you can get in alignment with your own equipment and the field around you, harmonious patterns of the field around you, instead of floundering and flailing in a life that you're having a hard time controlling. Finding decent relationships, a job that you like, a decent, whatever, we're going to tackle all of this stuff over the days and weeks to come because I do this every morning. I'm doing it a little early this morning, but probably the reason is because I'm live streaming. And this is brand new. This is my virgin voyage. And I don't want to sound stupid, and I don't want to be maybe broadcasting at a time when, I'm going to be picked up by thousands of people right now. A little bit of stage fright. Anyway, who am I? So I have a set of scene changes that sometimes in the very best of shows, I don't change the scenes at all. Now I'm live streaming right now. I think you can just see my background screen. It's a surreal forest scene. But I have a bunch of other slides that help illustrate, my presentation. But then I've been doing this as a YouTube, just posting YouTube videos to my channel every day as though it was happening on a chronological basis, but sort of me practicing it started out me practicing my presentation, where I start at the beginning. I'm like, okay, so what's the idea here? Who am I? What is my thesis? My thesis is, I believe that the vast majority, let's just leave it at that, the vast majority of human problems are caused by us not knowing who we are. We respond poorly to each other and the environment around us. We build systems that are not properly designed. We don't realize that we are a single organism. We shouldn't be the liver shouldn't be charging the kidneys, usurious anything. We should be treating each other way better than we are. And we would be if we understood who we were. And actually, we would have an easier time of it, too, if we understood who we were. Because if we knew who we were, we would not be creating lack on planet Earth right now. We would be part of the abundance churning machine that is nature herself. And we would be co-assisting her in her belching of abundance, and we are capable of doing it. I drive sometimes south of Albuquerque, and you can see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles, we are growing trees, nut trees, in the desert. You see it all over Arizona too. What do you need to do this? You need water, and you need energy. Now, perhaps the reason that it's, makes economic sense to grow the nuts is because of the amount of nutritional value in nuts. They're very, very high in energy. And so the energy that you use to grow an orchard of nuts, I don't know. Actually, I got to be careful of this. I refer to things that I have referred to before. I have let me start at the beginning. I believe that we need to understand who we are in reference to source energy, and we need to understand source energy. What is source energy? It's where all the matter is coming from. What does that mean? Well, we're talking about physics, an understanding of physics. And what is the biggest problem in physics? This lack of continuity between our understanding of quantum physics and our understanding of Newtonian physics, like the orbiting of planets and the reaction of large-sized objects to one another. That's Newtonian classic conventional physics. And then quantum physics is all of these forces down at the level of the atom, the strong force and the weak force, that are holding the atom together in this really, really strong, the grip of the forces within the atom are really, really strong. And what's going on in the subatomic world It's we don't have mathematics that unite the two of them, or we didn't. Now, the conventional physics world still has not, they haven't rang the bells and said, extra, extra, read all about it. Nassim Haramein has, done the math. They never did that because a lot of what he's saying implies some kind of interesting things about who we are and consciousness and how the whole thing works. But I believe that we really have to honestly, genuinely understand these things if we ever want to be galactic beings, to join the rest of the universe in traveling around the universe and communing with the rest of the universe, because the rest of the universe is like the rest of the body. And until we really understand that we are one with this and we need to be operating it without resistance, without fear and distrust, but understand where and how to trust. So, let's don't get ahead of ourselves. Nassim Haramein in 2012 did the mathematics that unified the the quantum and cosmological world. And what he discovered is that what unites us all is that we're all spinning. We're all spinning together. And we have this... So how do I want to do this? I have a presentation, and it's not all me just talking about Nassim Haramein. Absolutely it isn't. But I bring up here The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity paper. This is a paper that he published last September. The first one that he published was back in 2012, where he shows that he unifies the mathematics of the quantum and cosmological world. He symbolically published it on 12/12/2012, the day the world was supposed to change, and the whole team sat back and waited for the world to look like it changed, and it didn't look like it changed. But you know what? The world is changing, and it takes a while for the implications of stuff like this to really sink in, and it's taken a while. It's taken a while for it to filter down to me, where I'm recognizing the potential in all of this new understanding. Turns out that the strong and weak forces, gravity is coming from the curvature of space-time caused by large objects, is actually the consequence of that, of a momentum of spin in a sector of space-time. That's kind of how you could see it. And spin is what's fundamental. You either have this Planck field of solid packed Plancks sort of randomly zigging around and touching one another and in a disorganized sort of way, or when it's organized, it's coming into spin. It spins, and when it glumps together in spin, you don't ever see any matter anywhere in the universe, anywhere that isn't spinning. It's interesting. I'm spinning, you're spinning, everybody around us is spinning because our planet is spinning, and everybody's planet is spinning. There isn't any place where it is not spinning. Spin is fundamental, and space is full. And there's this black hole structure up and down the... anyway, but my little presentation is more than that. So this is the abstract of that paper. My little presentation is more than that because I have some theories about where I think we might have come from. Remember the show, Who Am I? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What's the object of the exercise? What is the pathway out of the wilderness for humanity? And what is this wilderness I speak of? Well, there's a lot of problems we got going on. Things like climate issues, extreme climate issues, probably partially cyclical, natural and cyclical in nature, but exacerbated by human activity. And then the problem's more exacerbated because we can't seem to work together. You know, we are so polarly divided that we can't work together, and so we can't come together and be flexible and do and change and be the kinds of things that would help not exacerbate the issue. So we got wars raging. We have just had an election that may or may not have been stolen. It would have been claimed on the other side that it was stolen. And I laughed at one point, you know, saying that no matter who wins, Trump's going to show up. Well, turns out he wins. And now there's a big hue and cry on the other side about, you know, was it stolen? And this by all the people who've been trying to, you know, claim that Trump is falsely claiming that it was stolen for the last 4 years. And it's just so ironic. And you've got to roll your eyes, because the only way we're really going to fix this is not by one side beating the other side and finally progressive, you know, whatever, triumphs against conservatism or what some other nonsense. That's not the answer. The answer is when we come together and realize that in humanity there is a conservative streak and there is a progressive streak. And these two spirits have got to come together within us. And then we've got to realize that there is no us and them. We're all in this together. And actually, at the level of the quantum field, we really, really, really are. Now, why am I showing this picture? Because it points out that the neocortex of the human brain is plumper. It's bigger. There's more to it than other creatures. And what this causes is our higher emotions. It gives us our higher emotions, our ability to soar with the eagles in this exalted, you know, states of, you know, emotional states, and also to drown in the depths of despair, to wallow in yesterday, to anticipate tomorrow, to plan, to step outside of physical reality and draw things in the air, is basically all the kinds of things that the neocortex gives you. I then went and looked up. It's in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It's a peer-reviewed scientific journal where the different disciplines of science come together, excuse me, and publish their work. Second volume published that year, 1991. And I had to look at the titles of the articles because those page numbers aren't at the bottom of the pages, they are within the articles. So you'd have to open up an article and look and see what so I just read the titles. And I found it was the 40th one in, and here it is. Origin of Human Chromosome Number 2 and Ancestral Telomere to Telomere Fusion. Now this is not saying, I'll tell you what this article is saying. It's saying that human chromosome number 2, responsible for 70 equation, clipped away. Interesting. And Greg Braden claims that the odds of that happening by chance are fairly high against. Now, this particular article is not saying anything about how this happened. It's just saying when we sequence human chromosome number 2, we have to conclude that this is the relic here at the bottom here. It's the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Very interesting. I think this is the missing link, you know. It's just me. I think this is where we became who we became, and it's implying that we got here through genetic modification. And it would explain a lot about our behavior across the planet, how many of us have How many cultures have creation stories? We all thought that those could be explained by, they're just metaphorical stories talking about the incremental Darwinian evolution that we have undergone through millions of years. It's just a way to, a cute way to describe that. But we also don't seem to belong here, in the sense that we are not naturally being harmonious with the environment around us. We create our own environment and then we just interact with that. We are not harmoniously blending and co-creating with the field, with the biofield around us. I mean, we can. As a matter of fact, human beings are the most amazing gardeners. And I think we are here to garden planet Eden. We are here to manage the planet. But we need to do it from not a human-centric, but a recognizing ourselves as part of an interactive field and how this field actually works. So my presentation goes a little farther. We're going to get a little farther than this. So we talk about your emotional guidance system, which is caused by the fact that you actually are two beings. You are two major components, and these two components are sort of made up of different aspects, but they aren't wholly different. They're sort of the Descartes Cartesian binary system, but these two things are one thing. This vibrational self that you are, that is connected to all things, and then this physical self that you are, that is your more conventional self, your conventional mind, as your brain and your skull and your physical body and all of that. You're that self, for sure. You are. This is your expirational self. The other one is your eternal self. And these two beings act in tandem with one another. And when you are flowing with your larger vibrational self, who is also in touch with the rest of the field and flowing with the rest of the field, actually spinning with the rest of the field, literally, as it turns out. That's going to be the actual physics that's happening. Spinning and flowing with the spins and flows of the field. If you're doing that, you're in a good mental, you're in a positive emotional state, somewhere from contentment on up. If you aren't, if you're somehow, because who are you? You are two selves. And this picture, I know that this is an inadequate picture in this day and age, with AI and everything else being able to illustrate whatever you need to illustrate. This is a poor picture, but this is it. This, to me, illustrates your two selves, your two spinning vortices of attraction. Is basically what these two things are. You are spinning with source, and then you are spinning on your own. And when your own little spin is lined up with your source spin, then everything you do is blessed and flows from you with harmonious whatever with the rest of the field. You are supporting the rest of the field, and the field is supporting you, and everybody is zigging and zagging and dancing and frolicking in a beautiful way. And when you are not in alignment with yourself, then you find yourself in states of negative emotion, which there's your raw emotional guidance system. Here I have another way of illustrating this, which actually illustrates more this concept of momentum. And the momentum that you can build in a positive direction, or you can start going against your positive self and build a negative momentum in your shadow self through... So what am I saying? What I'm saying is the most important thing you should be paying attention to is the state of being that you are in. whenever you are looking at the world outside of you. You might say, why does that matter? The world outside of you is what it is. Well, it is in a way, but your navigation through it is not is what it is. It is being, your navigation through the field around you is being governed by the impulses you are getting from source. And when you are taking them from your negative self, they're backwards. And every time you try to move forward, you create this kind of negative energy field in the spaces around us, actually. And all of the rest of us have to deal with this fallout. I call it's after the different religions and mythologies, their lingo for this energy. Loki energy would come from the Norse. Shiva energy comes from the Hindu. Demonic energy comes from the Christian. But it's all this idea of this kind of chaotic energy. I'm going to call that chaotic energy with a capital K. That's from the Greek. So if you hold on just a second, I am in the flow. I'm going to go peek over in the studio and see whether anybody's listening to me and see whether that distracts me in any way. Well, nobody's chatting, so that's good. I have no idea whether anybody is watching. It would be interesting. Nobody's listening. Okay, well, in a way that frees me. Okay, things are always working out for me. I put this show on at this time of day, and oh, you know what? I didn't describe this. I haven't done anything with this. I should have done that. Oh, why didn't I do that with Alexis? Oh dear. Maybe I should stop streaming. It's because I don't have any description of my video. Okay, I'm going to stop streaming. You know what? That was fun. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to stop streaming because I'm still doing my video. I'll just stream again tomorrow with a good description of it. It's just going to sound the same as I did it today. Nobody's listening right now because there's no description. Oh, I don't know I can pause. Okay, I won't stop streaming, but I'll pause my recording. I think I can do that. Okay, since nobody's watching my streaming, this should be all right. Now I go over to where I'm streaming on, let's see, what's my description? I forgot how to do that. I have an excellent connection. That's wonderful. Let's see. Webcam manage. What am I managing? This stream can be accessed from the exiting will not end a stream. I don't know what I'm doing here. Do I do it on my channel? Okay, I have no idea how this works. All right. All right. I am still I will... You know what? It just means I have questions because I don't know if you even can. I don't know how to identify my live stream up front. I forgot to ask that. Anyway, so here's your emotional guidance system, which shows you in this picture, you can see the momentum of negative. Uh, Boy, I was on a roll. I really was. I was on a good roll. And now I've interrupted the flow of myself. When I realized that nobody was watching, I was like, oh my gosh, this live stream Virgin Voyage, there's nobody here watching. Maybe I should do it in the middle of the day. Yeah, maybe I should do that. Anyway. I have more pictures of the emotional guidance system. This emotional guidance system comes to us because you... You know, it's funny. What happened to me during the first part of that show is I imagined I'm actually talking to people. It really pulled my consciousness together, which is interesting. I think that this is going to work, ultimately. My ability to live stream and pull my message together, it's actually going to work. I'm going to be able to do this every day. And we'll just figure out how to get people into the room. Maybe one of the things that I have to do is figure out how to get my channel, my whatever, on the screen so that somebody picks me in Scotland or Ireland or England or something across the pond, so I can still do it at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I enjoy doing it early in the morning, but I tell you what, my neighbors are not listening at 5 o'clock in the morning. Here's my aperture picture back. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm going to go back to... what am I going to do? What am I going to do? 31 minutes in. How long do I do my live stream generally? Or how long do I do my YouTube show every morning? I go for an hour to an hour and a half. And I try to cover as much ground as I can over my thesis statements. Now, one of my... I don't really do this just... I'm going to go back to some kind of peaceful scene. I do have a reason why I do these things. I would like to help us understand that I think that we have a pathway out of the wilderness that we have created for ourselves. Oh, you know what? No, it is recording. Okay, never mind. The pathway out of this wilderness is to understand that we have an opportunity, the ability, it is possible to plug directly into source energy. Over unity devices are possible, although we have been taught that over unity devices means I'm creating energy out of nothing, and that's not possible. So over unity is not possible. What is over unity, you ask me? Over unity means a device that puts out more energy than it takes us to run. What, you say? If you are conventionally educated, then likely you think that that's impossible. But it isn't impossible because you aren't creating energy out of nothing. And there is nowhere in the universe where already at every point there isn't, at the 0 point energy field, there is almost unlimited energy at every point already. You aren't creating energy out of nothing. There is nowhere where there is no energy. You take the temperature all the way down to 0 degrees Kelvin, absolute zero, And this field of energy is still as equally. You go out into the outer reaches of outer space where apparently there is nothing, and this field is still as energetic. Wherever you look, there it is, energetic. So how are people doing it? They do it different ways. One guy invented a device that tuned into the magnetic field of the earth. And, he tunes the device all up, and then it starts chinking out voltage. Another guy, he tunes it to some solid state frequency going on out in the universe. It puts out, it's a device, looks about the size of a gas pump, the one you pull up next to, the stuff that sticks up, that part of it. And supposedly this thing puts out enough voltage to run about 300 houses. All kinds of devices have been invented. And at this point, if I knew how to direct you to it in this stream, I would, but I'm just going to orally say, go watch on YouTube for free the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. It's a documentary talking about over-unity devices and how they have been taken from us. Taken from people who tried to get them patented or whatever. They wanted to create their own energy empire, through patenting a device that then puts out energy this way. But instead the device was snatched away in the name of national security. And you know what? I'm not pushing back against that in a way, because I understand there is national security involved. But you know what? It's gone a little bit too far. And now our national security is in different ways being threatened by our dependence on fossil fuel, our burning of fossil fuel, our carbon footprint on the planet, the poison that it engenders, the scarcity that follows, the quarreling amongst ourselves that happens, the competition over shrinking resources that happens. This is why we have a planet that is in climate crisis and still involved in wars that will not quit. We've got to get past this. We need to get past this. How do we do that? Well, we inject energy into the equation. How do we do that? By understanding who we are and understanding what is possible. We can just turn our face in a positive direction and in a positive way, generally positively understand who we are and relate to one another from that manner, heal our wounds, bind up the wounds of humanity, and move forward into an abundant future that all of us are going to benefit from. So how does this work? Well, I have so many thoughts about this. The mathematics, the new understandings of just how the small relates to the large, implies certain ways of understanding how to plug directly into source energy. That's one thing. It also implies the nature of gravity, and that is going to get us gravity control. When we truly understand the source of gravity, yeah, okay, it's because the large object is bending the space-time and curving the... But what's doing it is the spin. It's because it's spinning. It's the spin and spinning together, more and more stuff spinning together causes a bigger curvature of it's the spin. And what's causing that spin? It's the way this field of vacuum fluctuations, Planck oscillators, potentials of spinning by themselves. They are an oscillator that's just doing whatever. When they start to glump together, they start to pull the field together in a bigger and bigger spin. Now, somehow the whole field is spinning together, and that's your source. And anyway, what does all this mean to me? It means pay attention to how you feel. Understand your own emotional guidance system. Also, understand that a fuller understanding of all of this is going to bring us all to, now I have been calling it freedom from fossil fuel, but I realize that that contains a level of resistance in it. And I don't mean to be resistant. I don't mean to be resistant against fossil fuels. They have been the vehicle that have brought us up to the speed that we are in now. They have been. And honestly, a century ago, we could not have been trusted with free, clean energy for everybody because Hitler would have had it. Now you might say, oh my God, now Trump has... Well, Trump is not Hitler. Trump is not an ideologue. Trump is an opportunist. Trump is a narcissist, me, looking for me to win, me to win, me to win, me to win. And he has discovered this formula where he is coalescing all this cooperative components over to his camp and his win. We could talk about that. I find it interesting because in my experience, what keeps cropping up in my consciousness as being an important concept is the concept of the win-win. The win-win. Now, I think Trump's problem is that he sees the world as a win-lose. And you don't need to see it that way. And when you see it that way, you start organizing that way. And he's a large organizational force. And that's why it's a problem, because he's coalescing towards himself this large force of others who also believe that it is a win-lose game. That's basically what he's coalescing over there together. All the people who believe it's a win-lose game. And then he's pointing out, hey, I see those people over there are bad players. These people over here, they're good players. Those people over there, bad. Chaotic. Bad. Good, good. Me, good. Them, bad. I mean, he's so simple. And we should not be hating him. Our hatred of him and our fear of him has pushed him away from us and caused a polarization within humanity. That in itself is the problem. It's the polarization is the problem. And so in as far as the Democratic Party might be pointing to some real things that they are doing over there and saying bad, 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 scary, scary, dangerous, spirits of danger, look at the history, blah, blah, blah. What they are not realizing is that they themselves, the Democrat who got it the closest was Marianne Williamson. And go listen to some of the stuff that she said. The human species is, by its very nature, part conservative, part progressive. We want to conserve the things of the past that work, that feel good, that feel right, that who we are. We want to forge forward in a future, a positive future, in a progressive manner, but incrementally preserving, conserving, if you will, things of value while we progress towards a future, adding more things of value. We are both conservative and progressive as a species, we are. And to have somehow these energies pitting human against human, if you believe that we are our political parties, I am at war with at least half my friends Half the people down at the bowling alley, I bowl with all of these old people in a conservative city. And now I'm in a blue state, but that little pocket, I know that a lot of them, even if it isn't half and half, if it's a third of my friends, if it's several of my beloved family, it's enough. You'd think that we were mortal enemies. You know, oh, you voted for Trump? Oh my God. Did you know that you're an idiot? Did you know that you have just signed the death warrant of America and the whole... You know what? I think that the project of America is gonna, since it is in idea, I think that it will last. And I think we're just getting kind of a dose right now of some things that we aren't really going to like. And it will make us clearer about what we want. And because that's how the steps of creation work. If you are a student of the law of attraction, you understand that that's how it works. Contrast causes you to two things. You send off rockets of desire. Excuse me. That your inner being rides to your fullest self and stays right there and then calls you to that vibration, come this way, you know, to that place where you want to go, that thing that you want. Your inner being is there and is calling you. What am I saying? Boy, did I just really jump. I just jumped the tracks, didn't I? Who am I? And I believe that on every level, us understanding who we are and getting into alignment with who we are as a larger creature, because we are not just our individual physical selves. Each one of us is our individual self, and a portion of the field around you is also still you. And you are not going to be okay unless the whole field around you is flowing a little better. Now, having said that, I'm going to say the opposite of it right now too. Because when I was young, we went and lived in Nairobi, Kenya for 2 years. When I was 12 years old, we went, I had just barely turned 12. We moved there, and right before I turned 14, we moved back. Like a month before I turned 14, we moved back, and a month after I had turned 12, we moved. So it was almost 2 years. And I got a good experience, a powerful, powerful experience of the sensation of homesickness. The sensation of being torn away from your environment and put in a completely different environment. And now everything around you is strange, but you get this opportunity to define, oh, that part of me that I'm missing so much, that was the environment around me. The me, just the me that I am, that's, and this separation between the two of them, that's what causes homesickness. Now, so in a sense, you are not the environment around you, and when you go to a different place, you realize what was you and what isn't, and when you sort that out, you feel better. And in a way, you are the environment around you, and that's why when you were taken out of it, oh, that makes you feel sick. It's sort of like maybe if you pull some liver cells out of your liver and have them going on in a petri dish, maybe at first they don't flourish quite as well, or I don't know if that's a good analogy, because maybe you can make those liver cells flourish immediately when they're taken out of their environment. I don't know. It depends on how perfectly you imitate the imitation environment that you give them. If it's perfect imitation, then there is no change and the liver cell does just fine. But if, I don't know, Have I digressed too much? So, on every level, I believe that a higher understanding of who we are and how this works will lead humanity to definitely a better future. And that is such an understatement that I'm grasping for different words because that's such an understatement. Bashar tells us that the pathway of the two earths is diverging right now in a fork that will make it, probably in consciousness, will be a harder jump to imagine one to the other, to live one to the other, to move from one to the other, to affect a change, like the momentum of one. If it's heading down the dark side at one point, that dark side is going to take it. It's going to keep taking it on down the road. I personally believe that I am on a version of planet Earth that is gonna make it, because we're going to understand. Well, I'm going to tell you how to make it, how we're going to make it. The pathway out of the wilderness is over unity devices. The very second that humanity fully been snatched out of our hands in the name of national security, and not for no reason. Because bad guys are going to take that unlimited free clean energy and they are going to hole up in their little private Idahos, armed to the teeth and all culty and, authoritarian psychosis-y with their little culty groups. And some of them are going to be dangerous. Some of them are going to be hostile. Some of them are going to be suicidal. Some of them are going to be peaceful and glorious and wonderful. And we're going to have to understand how to deal with this. We're going to have to understand how to disarm the little micro kingdoms that crop up. And how you do that is you reincorporate them back into the body of humanity. You don't negate them. You don't devalue them. You show them who they are, and you get them to set their own guns to the side. Don't give them back to me. Just set your guns to the side. Maybe throw them on the bonfire later. You don't need quite so many now that you realize, who we really are. Guns are almost like white blood cell count. Our white blood cell count is a little high, There's no real reason why we need to have quite so many guns. There's not that much of a threat. It's like our immune system is, we got an infection going on. Guns are sort of like an infection. White blood cell count in the body of humanity. I just thought of that one. I don't know whether that one's going to stay with me or not. So who am I? And do I have is my message one of hope, or is it one of caution? Absolutely, it is one of hope. It is a message of, if we would but understand the cards that we have actually been dealt us, if we would but understand this Planck field and how it works, we need to fix every problem that we've got. So what do I think our problems are? Sixth mass extinction, underway right now on planet Earth, caused by human behavior this time. This time it's not caused by an asteroid. This time it's not caused by a volcano. This one is caused by us. And it is tearing into the threads of the diversity around this planet, the sacred and blessed diversity that is taking care of it is meeting the needs of every. We're ripping it to shreds, and we need to stop it. We need to turn that trend the other direction. We still have war. We have. I used to call it Garbage Island. It's actually the Great Pacific Garbage. The Great Pacific Garbage something. It's a big spinning field of garbage, in vortex of garbage in the Pacific Ocean. It's a horrible thing. And we need to fix it because it's messing with marine life. And the water of this planet is like our blood. We can't be gumming it up with garbage. But clean, free energy, and we could recycle it all. We could recycle it now, but it would take so much energy to recycle it, to gather it up and recycle it. And that energy that we would have to use to gather it up and recycle it comes from fossil fuel, and it just isn't enough. We don't have enough to do that. But we would if we would plug into source energy. But in order to do that, we have to understand source energy. And in order to be trusted with that kind of energy level, humanity needs to understand who we are. Who are we? I think we are a genetically modified species. That means that there is intelligent species that can roam the galaxies because somebody would have had to come from somewhere else to do it. So that implies a lot of interesting things. Now, all of a sudden, you look at all the thousands and thousands of ancient pyramids all around the planet with new, credulous eyes. You go, oh, well, this must be some sort of, whatever. Now you start mathematically examining all of their placement and all of their architecture, and you go, I'll be darned. Look at what mathematically, all of this wisdom, all of this technology that is being expressed in. We start feeling different about who we are and where we came from. The problem is somebody created us, but they didn't give us a user's manual. They didn't tell us that this neocortex gives us this potential for negative emotion when we witness conditions that do not please us. And then when we follow that negative feeling and act from that negative impulse, we create a chaos around us that is disharmonious with the field. Because the field is is riding on the wings of pure positive energy. And so this negative self that we can be runs contrary and causes a kind of chaos in the field. And I have decided furthermore to always spell that with a capital K instead of a C. It's from the Greek. It's a god, actually, but it's a force. Chaos and coherence are the two forces. And one is electromagnetism and the other one is gravity. One is the spin going up and the other one is the water going down. Only it's not water going down. It's that comes from Nassim's analogy of water in the drain and how the spin of this field causes the effect of gravity, and when you pull the plug, you have this vortex that appears from this gradient density. All of a sudden, the water is falling through at the bottom. It's causing this vortex that's pulling things in from around it, and gravity is the water going down, and electromagnetism is the air going up in this spin of creation. That's where all these forces are coming from. It's from the spin of the field. And quite frankly, when you realize that all of this is all spinning together, you realize that that's where the dark energy and the dark matter, that's where that comes in. All of that field of energy, it's because the whole field is spinning. That's why the matter that you see is only like 4% of the energy that it would take to make everything act the way that it's acting. It's because it's spinning with a whole spinning field. Isn't it interesting? Anyway, our full and complete understanding of all of these things is going to bring us to freedom from fossil fuel, freedom from gravity, freedom from war. Now, if you ever want to come and watch my show later, if you want to tune in to me live, what I talk about all the time is sort of a mixture of this, a technological discussion, helping us understand that we can have a better energy source than the one that we've got. More dependable, way more energy involved, so we can do way more things. We can desalinate ocean water. We can build pipelines to deserts, piping water from the oceans to the deserts. You could do it now, but all you'd get is salt water. And salt water's just going to make the desert worse. But how about if you had the energy to desalinate that water and then send clean, fresh water wherever you wanted to? And even the building of the pipelines, how much is that going to cost? Well, why do I even say that? We build them now to pipe oil and tar sands and such around the planet. But we shouldn't do that. We should build pipelines to pipe water around the planet, and let's rebuild abundance beyond anyone's imagination. So I watched this show. It's over there on Amazon. It's on a lot of platforms, actually. It's on Tubi. It's on a bunch of places. Still Standing. Wonderful show. Host is Johnny Harris. He plays Crabtree on Murdoch Mysteries, if you watch that show. He's wonderful. But he's even more wonderful in real life. And he does this show where he travels around to Canada's small towns, struggling small towns, and he documents how these people have turned adversity into triumph, in different, wherever they have, he's focused there in how they have triumphed over their difficulties, their heyday at the time, maybe why the town came into being, what industry that brought it into being, that birthed it, went away, causing the hard times, and then how the people, the community who love each other and love the area because it's beautiful, because much of Canada is so beautiful, why they wanted to stay there and stay together, and all the kinds of ideas that they the greatest idea I ever saw, and it's such a purely Canadian idea. So one of the things that it's a recurring theme that I see in all of the small towns, is one of the ways to keep the small town alive is to come up with ways to entice tourists, get people to come. And then your eateries and your hotel, your motels, your hotels, your Airbnb, your bed and breakfasts, your lodgings or your shops and stuff get visited by outside money, and then you survive. Now in Canada, one of the problems is that the season is rather short unless you have year-round things, because they do year-round things even in the snow and stuff. They have outdoor things that they do. But the greatest one I ever saw was where these people, they had an area of land that the beavers had left. There weren't beavers around, and so there weren't dams and stuff, and there was an area of land that they could work with, and they carved out a maze. And then they enticed beavers back to the bottom of wherever this area was, and they got the beavers to build a dam and maintain the damage down there at the bottom. Damage, isn't that funny? Uh, and then it filled up and back of the beaver dam, and now it's a kayak maze, a really cool kayak maze. So they sort of encourage the natural environment to, because the beavers were there and then they weren't there, and then they enticed them to come back and help them fill up their kayak maze that they had built. And now it's like the coolest thing ever. I have to go visit this place because the kayak maze looked wonderful. Like, I really want to go do that. That looks like fun. So one of the themes that people would do is they would, so one town, they started painting murals. And they have like on the sides of these buildings that had used to have been part of this one industry that wasn't that anymore. They were empty buildings, and they started painting on these canvases. Now this small town has like 50 magnificent, huge murals all over the sides of these buildings. Artists come, tourists come, and now it's a thriving little community again, all these great ideas. Now there was this one place where I was struck by the fact that there was this apple orchard, and it reminded me of Dixon's farm up, which got flooded out a few years ago by a catastrophic flood that raged through the valley there, and they just could not afford to build it back. Probably because, energy costs being what they are. But certainly this farm, this orchard, it was a large orchard. It actually employed quite a few people, and they produced quite a few apples. But over time, the cost of doing business rose, and to a point that they couldn't sell the apples expensive enough to pay that. And so the orchard dwindled, and now it isn't a business. There's some trees there and whatever, and people kind of remember it, but it isn't what it used to be. Now, with free, clean energy, an orchard like that should have no problem whatsoever continuing to run into forever. How much, it's the cost of energy was the problem. Now you can run your farm equipment, you can do whatever. You'll have to pay some employees, but you don't have to ransom your soul for the energy price. The cost of energy is so expensive, it takes a huge percentage of your business. And if you don't have to pay that, then it's because the cost of doing business was starting to get difficult for. But if we would develop an we are all in this together attitude, as well as adopting free, clean energy and allowing all of the separate parts just to go off into the bushes and do their own thing, and then would have to deal with the consequences of the cults and the kingdoms that would ensue. It's true. But you know what? This also speaks to my thesis, which is that if we knew who we were, that wouldn't be a problem. So who are we? We are a field. We are a matrixed, connected, inseparable field of energy and potential. And anything that we learn to focus on, we can have. We just have to learn that focus and attention is the currency of the universe, and how to wield that. How you are looking at something is way more important than the air quote object that you are looking at. So I started to say this earlier. If you are looking at the world from an angry lens, that very same exact world looks way different than if you are looking at it from a loving, kind, relaxed state of allowing. Some people get locked in over there on the other side and they don't toggle back and forth from the two sides. And so they just see it from the one side and they become King Wetiko. They become king of the polarity, king of the negative energy, king of the aggrieved. It's a field phenomenon. And I believe that that's what Trump is. And if we would see what's going on as a physical illustration of an understanding of how these energies work. And it's not that we don't want Trump, it's we don't want us versus them philosophy ruling our lives. We don't want a paradigm of competition to be the game that we're playing. We need to understand that we are all in this together, and the reason that we should institute things like universal basic income is to allow the body of humanity to be more flexible, so that we don't have some people, for their own vested interest, clinging to modalities that are not good for the greater whole. Things like, right now, if we found a clean, free energy source that would benefit all of mankind, we have millions of people in the energy sector who would push back against that, saying, hey, if you take away oil, I don't have any way to pay my rent. You know, I can't keep my kids in college. You know, what am I going to do for my retirement if you do all this changing with the energy stuff? And so you have people who are resistant to what would be better for mankind. My analogy, the story I like to refer to these days is, what if somebody invented something that immediately made people's teeth straight, white, and strong. Immediately, like strong white teeth. Don't need the dentist anymore. Do not need the dentist. Absolutely do not need the, whatever. Immediately you would throw how many millions of people across the globe would you throw into immediate poverty? Immediate, I don't know what to do to justify my share of the energy that, so I see humanity as a single being. And we have a circulatory system, we have a supply chain that all the individuals have to do something of worth to the greater whole in order to click into the greater whole in order to justify some portion of that human supply chain. I have my money, and that allows me to go to a store or whatever and trade for food or building supplies or rent, or actually right now an inordinate amount of it's going towards energy. Paying the fossil fuel people to go fetch the energy. Well, what happens if you don't need to do that? If you can plug directly into the source of all things, it would be great for humanity. But now all of a sudden the people who own at the moment hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of economic activity, especially when you calculate the ripple effect. There's the oil itself, but then there's the refining, and then there's the transporting, and then there's all of the gas stations, and then there's the system of a certain kind of vehicle that uses a certain kind of fuel, and and it's all very what's the word? Standardized, kind of the way it's going right now. Well, if all of a sudden that was a thing of the past, because how much better would it be if I could just plug my air conditioning directly into the source of all things, and I don't even have to pay anybody for the energy. I just have to pay somebody for the air conditioner. You know? Now all of a sudden the technology is probably worth more. And the energy is worth way, 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 way less because the energy's free. So why would you? But now there's a lot of opportunity there because we have a lot of devices that need a conversion factor. Ooh. God closes one door, he opens another. Or he opens a window, closes the door, opens a window, closes the window, opens a door. All of that. We didn't talk much today about the miracle and magic of our design. The way our design is actually, we are designed to follow our own personal desires, our own personal win. And you can do it to the farthest extent that you can imagine and do no harm to the world around you as long as the win that you are looking at is the win, 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 win. It's not just the win for you, it's the win for a large field around you. Win, 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 win. So if I'm starting a business, it's the win-win for me and my employees and my customers and my neighborhood. The winningest win-win, that's what we should be looking for. Not F you, I've got mine, screw you, I've got it all, it's all about competition, sucker. It's not like that. That's not the actual paradigm we're in. Although, interestingly enough, we live in a universe that is so unconditionally supportive that if you play the game that way, it will echo back to you exactly like that, as though that is the truth of it. But it isn't really the truth of it. Or it's not the truth I would like to play out. That's one of the things that Hitler believed, that it was a win-lose, zero-sum, finite pie, have to stay in permanent conflict in order to prove who's worthy to survive. And, it's all about genetics and, superior genes and things like that. He was wrong about all of that. And that's why it didn't work. But you can play it, and if we would consensusly agree that this is how it works, or this is how it could work, and this is who we are all in this together. If we could agree on something like that, we could really build a magnificent present and future for humanity. As an intergalactic species, as a peaceful, cooperative, abundant, life-supporting, abundance-creating part of the natural world here on planet Earth. But I think we need to understand who we are and not be so arrogant about who we are. Understand why we have a problem getting along and come to consciously know who we are and how to operate the machinery. We need a user's manual. I could call this the user's manual, or I could call it Who Am I? But either way, we need to know who we are. And I think that I'm going to call it a day. I'm right around where I don't know where I'm going to settle into the exact time. I probably should pick a time of day, and that time of day I'm on the air. And I go for X amount of time, and it's period, period, period. But we'll see. This was just my virgin voyage. I may or may not even leave it up on the thing. We'll see how it goes. It was pretty good. But until tomorrow, at which time I hope that you can come and join me. Maybe I need to do it at a different time of day if I want to have more listeners. Let me see if there's anybody in the studio. Is there anybody here? Oh, come on. Let's put this down. Anybody listening? I can't tell. have no idea. I have no idea. All right. Well, I do know how to do this from my studio, so I'm going to close it from there. And until tomorrow, folks, I hope you have a great day. I'll be back to tell us more and more and more how to live a better life, how to have better relationships, how to make more money, how to have more fun, how to ride this planet to the glorious future that I know that we have, how to find our way to clean, free energy and a fabulous, fabulous future for all of us. We will talk more and more and more about it tomorrow. And until then, as always, may the source be with you.